You meet a man. He's funny, attentive. He actually listens to you. You go on a date and you get home with sore cheeks from laughing. He says all the right things, wants the same things. It feels easy and rare. Dates turn into a relationship and you think, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Now imagine discovering that everything he told you was a lie, and you're only one of many women that he has on the go. This is the story of Filthy John, a compulsive liar, a manipulator, a man with a serious drug problem, a habit of stealing, and a dangerous temper. On the surface, he was hilarious, affectionate, the perfect man. But behind the scenes, he was creating chaos in multiple women's lives, lying to them, mirroring their personalities, love bombing, stealing, vanishing, reappearing, and slowly wrecking their sense of reality. These women didn't just overlap, their lives became tangled in the most bizarre ways. In this podcast, you'll hear from 4 of them. 4 women brave enough to sit down and tell their story. There are more, but some of them are still too scared to speak. This is a story about manipulation, survival, and the power that comes when women start comparing notes. Linda met John on Facebook dating in February 23. They hit it off straight away, chatting for a few weeks before making it official in April. Linda was thrilled with him and it felt like a good year, like she had finally met someone she could build something with.
And I'll be honest with you, right up until the New Year's in 2023, I had a great relationship with John. It was fantastic and I was madly in love with him. He was just the perfect man. He was everything I was looking for and I was just delighted.
At this point, John had already been in a relationship with Monica for about 9 months. So to get ahead of his own web of lies, he mentioned Monica to Linda, framing her as just a friend.
So I knew about Monica because he had told me that he was very good friends with Monica's husband, John. He kind of implied, Monica rings me sometimes because she's always looking for me to do something around her house, fix something, or husband's useless, that kind of thing. So I kind of thought none of it, but he also told me that he had a holiday home in Gorey and it was right near Monica and John's house and he stayed there some weekends, didn't really kind of think much of it. And I was like, oh, grand, because he did put himself across to be like this hugely successful businessman, which all turned out to be a load of horse shit in the end anyway. None of it was true.
Up until this point, Linda was happy. Things had been good, better than good. But around New Year's, something shifted. She had planned a gorgeous weekend, a trip to the Wild Lights, a hotel stay, and a day out at Powerscourt, all paid for by her, of course. Just like with Monica, John's daughter was the same age as Linda's, and the 2 little girls became the best of friends. It was all happy families, but not for long.
You know, we had a nice little family thing going on. So him and his daughter, myself and my daughter. My son Matthew is grown, so he does his own thing. So that was fine. And I said to Monica when I heard that you invited her, what would he have done if you had said yes? Since I had paid for this whole thing and we came back and something changed. John started to get very nitpicky about everything. I noticed that money was starting to go missing out of my purse. My personal belongings were starting to go disappearing from my house. A laptop, Wi-Fi dongle, PlayStation. So I actually wasn't sure whether it was John or not because like Matthew would be in the house with his friends and stuff. So I planned, me and John were here alone. Kids were at school because he never went to work. I had a really good job. So I worked 4 days where he couldn't be here because I was doing 12-hour shifts with shift work. So I'm assuming that's when he was with Monica, but he would tell me that he was at work. So he'd be working when I'd be working, and when I was off, he was with me. So I wasn't sure what was going on with my money and all that kind of stuff. So I planted €50 into a blue raincoat. While he was talking to me, I made sure he saw me putting it in there, into the raincoat in the hall. And it went off, was pottering around, doing things around the house and all. And about maybe, I don't know, a short time later, I went back to the raincoat and the €50 was gone. So I knew then, right, he's robbing from me.
John didn't just steal from her, he also sparked constant arguments and used gaslighting to make Linda doubt her own sanity. He grew increasingly controlling and manipulative, inflicting emotional pain and mental torment on Linda.
But then there was an incident, there were many incidents, but there's a few that kind of stick out, okay? I had my dishwasher blocked, right? And I went and put drain cleaner in it. Okay. Obviously, on reflection, I realised that probably wasn't the best decision to make. But John was trying to unplug it and he put his hands into my dishwasher. And then he went home and he was getting very mad about it, whatever. And he went home and then he started sending me messages saying that his hands swelled up and he has to go to the hospital. He started telling me then, lecturing me on, how ditzy I am and this, that and the other. And he was basically being very, very kind of abusive. Then he told me he had to get a blood transfusion. So he was in the hospital for days. But when I met up with Monica, it turns out he was actually in her house while mentally torturing me, letting me think that I had potentially killed this man with my dishwasher. We kind of argued about this back and forward because we started to argue a lot. Like, he convinced me that I had a hearing problem and I went and got hearing aids. I don't have a hearing problem. I function fine. I don't need hearing aids, but I let this man convince me that I had a hearing problem, which I don't. Just for the sake of peace, because I was just madly in love with this man. Everything was just starting to change. I didn't know how to react to what was going on. It was all coming very hard and very fast. The hearing aids was only like a minor thing. Like, he was getting on to me about having too much sugar in my diet. He went over and convinced my mother that I had health issues. Like, he took it upon himself to visit my mother and convince her that there was issues with me. Like, and it was everything. He was picking at absolutely everything. His issues. All of a sudden, nothing I did was good enough, which was just crazy.
John's emotional manipulation kept building, but one night he pushed Linda too far. That's when she started to see the cracks in his stories and realised things weren't as they seemed. Slowly, his lies began to unravel.
So we were arguing back and forth, and then there was one particular night he sent me a message basically saying that he was going to kill himself, and he felt like it was, he heard it's like falling asleep. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I was due to be in work, and I started ringing him and texting him and there was no response and I was panicking. I got up in the middle of the night and I drove to his house. First time ever being to his house. Backstory. He had told me that his father was senile, dementia, the whole shebang, and mental, and they had to commit him into St. John's in Enniscorthy mental institution. I absolutely hammered down his door in the middle of the night, and who answered the door? Only his father. And I was just like, hello? And he was just like, you looking at me like, who are you crazy lady? And I was like, is John here? And he goes, no, John isn't Gory. And I said, John isn't Gory. And he said, yeah. And he was like, who are you? And I said, I'm Linda. I'm John's partner. And he was like, all right. And I said, are you sure John is not here? Because that's his car. And he goes, that's my car. And I said, that green Merc is your car? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I said, does John have a business here? And he goes, that business is gone. And I said, is this not John's house? And he goes, no, this is my house. And I said, well, where's John's house? And he says, John doesn't have a house. And I was just like, what? So I was very confused. I didn't know what was going on. I texted John and I said, I've just been to your house and I met your father. He's a lovely man. John sent me back a whole load of panic text messages. Dad is mental. He's this, he's that and the other. He's making my life hell. He's lying about it, everything and la la la, whatever. And I was like, right, okay. So I knew there was something just absolutely bananas going on. I was just like, I don't know what's happening here.
Linda took it upon herself to reach out to John's ex-partner, the mother of his child, and asked if she would meet for a coffee. To her surprise, the woman agreed. When Linda finally met her, she was absolutely blown away by what she had to say. She described John in stark terms, laying bare exactly what kind of man he really was, something Linda now wishes she had listened to back then. But more than that, the woman shared her deepest worry. There were so many different women picking up her daughter from school and from the house that she had no idea whose home her daughter was actually going to, whether she was safe, or what kind of people these women were. This obviously came as a big shock to Linda. And
I was like, hang on, what do you mean? And she said, well, there's you, there's a girl named Monica, there's a girl named Claire, and there's a girl named Michelle at the moment. And I was just like, sorry? So I was like, hardly. I couldn't believe it. And she goes, I actually have a contact number for Monica. And I said, would you mind at all just texting her and asking her, is she in a relationship with John? Because I need some answers.
The message Monica had received from the mother of John's child, asking if she was still in a relationship with him, was actually sent while Linda was sitting in a coffee shop with that same ex. At the time, Linda had no idea who Claire or Michelle were. John had only ever told her that Monica was the wife of a close friend. During their conversation, Linda learned a lot, and none of it was good. John's ex spoke about their deeply strained relationship and how she was constantly left in the dark, simply wanting answers about the women who were spending time around her daughter. Linda also found out something even more shocking. John had another child he didn't acknowledge or take any part in raising. She left that cafe feeling shaken and very aware that she didn't know this man at all.
John rang me actually when I left the coffee shop, and he was like, "Hey babe, everything all right?" And I was like, "I don't know." He said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I said, "Who's Michelle? Who's Claire?" And he went absolutely mental on the phone. We got into huge rows for days and days and days. He wanted to know who I'd been talking to, and he accused Monica. And I said, "I haven't been talking to Monica," because I had said, "I know about Monica as well." And he said, "You've been talking to Monica." And I said, "I haven't been talking to Monica." And he goes, "I'll be getting her back. I'm going to punish her." And I said, "Okay, but it wasn't Monica."
This was the same situation we touched on in episode 2, where John took his revenge on Monica by sending those intimate voice notes she had exchanged with a male acquaintance back to the man, where his wife would find them.
We argued a lot about this. And I think because I was so in love with him at the time, he managed to convince me that it was all wrong and that wasn't the case. But I knew in the back of my head it was the case. But for some reason, it might have been the whole BDSM thing. I was really into it. Like, I loved it all. I was still willing to overlook it for the sake of trying to repair our relationship. So he had told me when I confronted him at Michelle, I only cleaned her shed once, and I don't like her. She's crazy into unicorns and aliens. And I was like, right, okay. And he said about Claire. Claire is an annoying Dublin friend from his past that keeps asking him for favours. She wanted her kitchen wrapped, and her car keeps breaking down, and she keeps ringing him, and she's nobody else. So I bought it like an idiot anyway. So he told me then that Monica was in fact an ex-girlfriend at that stage, and he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want me to be jealous. So then he told me that Monica was like his best friend in the whole world, and he loved her to death, and he can't live without her in his life. And if we were going to be able to fix our relationship, it was important to him that me and Monica become friends. So he organised for a very, very awkward video call between him and Monica and I, where Monica was under the impression I was just John's friend getting over him, and that she was working on her relationship with him. And during this video call, I was under the impression that I was being forced to befriend Monica for John to be able to move forward in our relationship. We were three of us on this very strange video call. It was grand. Like, I mean, I did like her when I was talking to her, but I wasn't really sure what the hell was going on. Like, why do I need to be friends with your ex-girlfriend kind of thing? It was very lovely. It was all very lovely. A couple of jokes back and forth. I think we were talking about Botox. So I just got Botox and just kind of basic conversation.
Linda and John did go on a few more dates after that. At one point, she even travelled to Gorey to see him, where by chance they bumped into Monica. It seemed Monica believed that John had told her the truth, that Linda was still madly in love with him and he was just trying to be a good friend to her. But behind Monica's back, John was saying something very different. When he was with Linda, he was telling her he loved her, that they should start fresh and things would be good again.
He was supposed to follow me home that night, but he didn't. He spent the night with Monica instead. And I was absolutely devastated. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Yeah, I knew what was happening, and we argued about it. He told me I was crazy for even accusing him of having sex with Monica. Starting to kind of dawn on me then what was going on. So we got into it again, arguing again. I couldn't believe what was going on, and I went through a phase of making him send me his live location the whole time because I just couldn't get over all these different women. And clearly I had trust issues.
But John was about to cross another line, one that would spark a huge argument and leave Linda genuinely frightened.
When we were working on a relationship and we were dating after I found out what I had, and we were trying to fix our relationship, he had come back down and he had spent the night with me again. And I had put a camera up in my house, in my porch, with a little SD card in it. Obviously, John doesn't sleep. I wasn't aware that he was taking drugs either. I thought he was just wired, all the time, ADHD, the whole shebang. The next morning, he spotted the camera when we were having a cigarette in my porch, and he's like, "Oh, cool camera." He took it. I watched him take it off the wall. I popped the SD card out of it and put it back. And I put it back. I took the thing up straight away, and I said, "Where's the SD card gone out?" And he said there wasn't anyone in it. We had a big argument about this. "I saw you do it." "No, you didn't. You're crazy. This is you all over again. You're paranoia, blah, blah, blah." I said, "John, give me the SD card back." And he said, "I don't have it." So I kicked him out of the house anyway, and that was fine. We got into a serious argument, and then he sent me my passwords for all my social medias, my LinkedIn, my Facebook. So I had to delete everything. We were still arguing quite heavily. It was later on then I discovered all the property that was missing, like the laptop and all that. He'd taken the SD card because he thought it was on the camera. At this stage, I kind of hated John. I was so angry for everything, but I had decided it was safer for my sanity to be his friend than his enemy, because he was starting to scare me, quite frankly. So we did, but our friendship was strictly, now that was probably around the May 2024. From there, our friendship was strictly phone calls, video calls on occasion, and texts, and that was it. He checked in with me the whole time, and, we did have a couple of calls or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. He had told me that the whole story about Monica cheating with the boss, he told me that happened twice, and the second time was the same story that he gave Kim, that he was taking a picture of Monica with her phone and a message popped up, and he had to dump her. And I was like, well, look, if she's still cheating on you, then forget about it, then it's gone, or whatever. He never told me. He still denied that they were just friends, because he was dating other women and sending me pictures of them, stuff like that. Somewhere along the way, it mentioned that he was in a relationship, and I actually commented, that's the first time you've ever admitted to me that you're in a relationship with Monica. I actually sent that to him in a message and everything. Christmas Day, he rang me. He wanted to come down to my house because Monica and him had broken up because she cheated on him again. And I was like, John, you're not coming to my house. I said, absolutely not. I have family over, I've got my own things going on. Then he asked me to go bowling. I felt that since Monica broke up with him, he was constantly asking me out.
Linda couldn't resist the opportunity to get back at John. When she saw his name pop up on Are We Dating the Same Guy, she knew it would get under his skin. And truthfully, she got a bit of satisfaction from that. What she didn't realise at the time, though, was just how serious the consequences would be for Kim.
Oh yeah, I was the one who told John he was up on the Are We Dating the Same Guy. I told him that because I was trying to piss him off more than anything. And it worked. And I was pretty happy with that little win. Obviously, if I hadn't known the impact it would have had on Kim, I never would have did that. And I have apologised, and I'll forever be sorry for that. He basically, there just maybe a month or so ago, he asked me out again, and I said no. And then he pretty much called me a bad mother because I wouldn't meet up with him. And I just said to him, look, you're in no position to be making judgments on how I live my life. And I just said, we shouldn't be talking anymore. So I finally did it and blocked him on absolutely everything. Probably less than a week later, Monica had reached out to me. We got talking, and I think the first call was for about 4.5 hours, Monica, wasn't it? It was just incredible, the stuff that she had told me. Like John has some serious mental issues. Like, I think he needs a padded cell down a straitjacket at this stage. Like, myself and Kim and Monica were on a video call there as well. We had discovered that some of the property John stole from me, he gifted to the other ladies in our other WhatsApp group. It was his first round place. Monica has a lot of it. I have some of their property. Like, he gave me stuff belonging to Monica and other ladies, and Anya's properties scattered around the place. So he's been stealing from ladies and gifting it to other ladies. Monica and I have met up, and we've a bit of a property exchange situation going on. But yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I have been to the guard about, there was only one item I was able to prove that he stole from the house because of a text message and a photograph that Monica sent me. So there's a search warrant being done up now, and hopefully they'll kick in his door and arrest him. Just be the best thing ever. I don't think he realises, like, it's painful when you go through this with John. Like, it hurts to the core, like, and it takes time then to put yourself back together afterwards. I think we're very lucky that we have all of each other. Like, I will give John one thing. He has impeccable taste in women. All these ladies, all 8 of them, they're beautiful, intelligent, successful, just really lovely, lovely, lovely women. And he never deserved any single one of them. And he was very lucky that he even got one of these ladies. But you know what it is? I think he has his way about him, and it's clearly scripted, because we all have the same messages from him at the start, the same pictures. He reads us all in the same way. He's just charming and funny and lovely, and everything he says is absolutely hilarious. And everything is very lighthearted at the start. Unfortunately, when he turns on you, he really, really turns on you. He is dangerous. He's very dangerous, and I think what we're trying to do is make other women well aware to watch out for this man, because he's not worth it like at all. What he does to you and what he leaves you with and then moves on to a new victim is really not worth it. Like,
Unfortunately, Monica witnessed that violence firsthand. It wasn't just shocking, it is something that haunts her to this day. She describes it as the most frightening experience of her life.
He met the woman somewhere in Dublin on one of the dating sites, and he went to meet her in my car because his was apparently broken. His daughter and my daughter were in my house at that stage. He was going for a few hours, right? So he left my house probably about 7 o'clock in the evening. It was around about 10 o'clock. I texted him that I will be going to bed soon, and he should drop my car key through my letterbox when he, on his way home. But then I wasn't getting anything back from him. There was just no acknowledgement of my messages. And I tried to call him a few times because it was getting later and later, and I was kind of all wrapped up, and I was just getting paranoid because there's me with two little girls in the house. No car whatsoever because he took mine and his is broken. I have no key for it anyway. Started overthinking. I was just getting annoyed because it was supposed to be a few hours now and it's like 5-6 hours. And I was getting, instead of him replying to my messages, all I got was a live location somewhere from Dublin. First they were walking around Dublin somewhere, and then the live location was in the same spot at the back of Dublin airport, where people sit and watch planes. They were there for 4 or 5 hours, and I was getting really wired up, and I just started texting him. I said, I hope you're not having sex in my car, because I don't mind you. I have to say that I was pretty vulgar, and I was just texting him something like, I don't mind you fucking her, just don't in my car, because, this is the last thing I want, clean the car, I'm driving the kids in this car, and all sorts of things. Because he wasn't a reply, I was getting angrier and angrier, and I was just, I don't even know if it was anger, I was upset that he, there's me minding his child, and he's enough respect even just to acknowledge my message. He is in my car. So about 4 o'clock, I think, I finally got a reply from him saying that he's on the way back, and sorry, I didn't see your messages because I didn't want Martina to know that you were texting me. And then another excuse was I was on the phone was on Do Not Disturb. Obviously, I know it wasn't because the messages were sent and delivered. So he was kept texting me back and forth on the way back from Dublin, from explaining himself to apologizing, and then to getting angry because he was telling me, oh, I didn't have sex with her. I don't understand why you accusing me of, you should know me better. I'm very shy. All I did is to kiss her, and we had such a great time. And now she doesn't want to talk to me because I mentioned it to her, and now she thinks why you're inquiring about us having sex anyway in the first place. And then from that, it was kind of, he was getting more angry with me. And there were messages, the messages were getting quite nasty. Then, you fucking destroyed. I had the best time of my life. This might have been the beginning of the, perfect relationship. I was so happy. I've never been that happy in my life. Blocked him for a few minutes because I just couldn't handle. It was just getting really, really intense. He kept sending me live location, just to let me know that he's getting near my house. And then I don't remember what happened, but he drove to his house. I think he dropped off my key. He drove to his house, and then something happened in the house. No, he either took more drugs because he went fucking ballistic then. Driving, again, live location just to let me know that he was getting closer and closer to my house and shouting to me on the phone and calling me all sorts of names and telling me, wake my fucking child. When I'm there, I want my fucking child waiting for me. That was like 5 a.m. Or I've been telling him, listen, you come here and you wake your child up yourself. I'm not going to wake the child up at 5 or 6 a.m. And what am I supposed to tell her? Anyway, I wasn't going to give her because I knew what state he was in. So he got really, really nasty at that stage. He says, you're not going to fucking make it difficult for me to get my own child. And really, I was scared at that stage. He never was really aggressive with me before, so I knew that there's probably only talk. At some stage, I noticed that his car pulled up outside my house. He got out of the car, went to the back of his car, the boot, grabbed something out of it, and he was walking towards my house, smashing it to bits and pieces. I had a little windmill, which was like a flower pot, and he smashed it. And I noticed it was like a wrench, the long one that you used to unscrew your wheels. And he walked to my house with it, and he went through the hallway to the kitchen, and I noticed that he had the thing in his hand, and I stood at the back of my kitchen beside the back door, and I didn't really know what to do. I knew I couldn't scream because all I had is 2 girls in the house, and there was no point screaming because, things are happening. It's fucking actually getting upset, So, and he was standing with this thing over my head. Fuck. It's okay. I'm fine. And it's just, it was happening so fast, and I didn't know what to do. And all I could think that I had to I have 2 options. Either try to calm him down somehow. Those 2 girls are going to find me in the morning on the floor, in the puddle of blood, because that couldn't end any other way. Because he was just like, when I was looking at his face, it was like, I was looking at a different person. Like, his eyes were just filled with rage. There was nothing in it. I could not get through him. Whatever I did at some stage, I was just standing still. I was scared to make the smallest movement even. How I managed, I don't know, but I did manage to calm him down, and he went straight into the drama, on his knees, crying and snot all over, hanging off his face. And I begged him just to put that wrench down, and he finally did. And I was just crying. Look what you did to me. It's all because of you. You upset me so much. Why did you think that I would have sex with you? You know that I love you. All I could talk to her, it was you. And I did not listen to any of that. I was just praying. I was just, please go to bed. I said, you're very tired. Obviously, you need some rest.
Monica sent him to bed, hoping that if he slept, he might calm down. She wasn't sure if he'd even remember what had happened, but she was so frightened she couldn't take the risk. That night, while he was asleep, Monica texted Martina. She apologised and begged her to do her a favour, to please reach out to him and say that their relationship wasn't over, that there was still a chance. It was confusing for Monica. Just 2 days earlier, she had been the love of his life, but now it seems that Martina is. Either way, she didn't want to risk facing John's wrath the next day.
And the poor woman, fair play to her, she replied to me and she says, well, listen, don't mind him. He's a bollocks. He's just a madman. I don't know. Obviously, I reached out to her. There's nothing much happening. Obviously, I didn't have sex with him, just in case if you wonder, and this and that. But yeah, I think that was the scariest. So that was the first time that I realized who I really deal with, that things that he can do using technology. Because we were all told, by the way, this story in that first message after from the dating sites, that I am a single dad. I have a full custody of my daughter. I used to be addicted to amphetamines, but I never touched drugs since my daughter was born. Her mom is a terrible woman. She was cheating on me with multiple men, and I asked her to stop. And because I wanted to save this relationship, she wasn't interested at all. I was forced to hack her messages on WhatsApp and share them on Christmas Day with her family, and she still wouldn't break up with him, and he was incarcerated for 2 years, that sort of crap. So we kind of all knew. I discovered that later when I started thinking, I figured out that this is all made up story. This is all for us to think that he would never ever cheat on anyone, because if he had suffered so much after, his ex-partner cheated on him, obviously, he would never do that. So every single time when I had some issues with him, I blamed drugs for everything. Never even for a second it crossed my mind that he would cheat on me, not to mention with so many women. I just thought it's all drugs. And that's why I kept trying, because I knew that we could fix. And the story about hacking, this is a little warning for all those women who would try to do something against him. He is letting you know straight away in the first message about the potential consequences, what he's capable of, what he can do with, technology. He can punish you if he doesn't like what you're doing. And this is just the beginning of manipulation. Just in that first letter, we can see this clearly now, but when we were reading the letter for the first time, all I could see is that vulnerable, gorgeous single dad, so brave and, so devoted to his child. We all make mistakes.
Thank you for listening to part 3 of Filthy John. Please like, subscribe and share. In our next episode, we will meet Anya. If you've been affected by any of the issues mentioned, please know that you're not alone. Support is available. Reach out to Women's Aid or the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre for help and guidance.